One thing that keeps me puzzled, despite having studied finance and economics at the world's best universities, the following question remains unanswered. Why is it that 5,000 units of our currency is worth 1 unit of your currency, where we are the ones with the actual gold reserves? It's quite evident that the aid is in fact not coming from the West to Africa, but from Africa to the Western world. The Western world depends on Africa in every possible way, since alternative resources are scarce out here. So how does the West ensure that the free aid keeps coming? By systematically destabilizing the wealthiest African nations and their systems, and all that backed by huge PR campaigns, leaving the entire world under the impression that Africa is poor and dying and merely surviving on the mercy of the West. Well done, Oxfam, UNICEF, Red Cross, Life Aid, and all the other organizations that continuously run multi-million-dollar advertisement campaigns depicting charity porn to sustain that image of Africa globally. Ad campaigns paid for by innocent people under the impression to help with their donations. While one hand gives under the flashing lights of cameras, the other takes in the shadows. We all know the dollar is worthless, while the euro is merely charged with German intellect and technology, and maybe some Italian pasta. How can one expect donations from nations that have so little? It's super sweet of you to come with your colored paper in exchange for our gold and diamonds. But instead, you should come empty-handed, filled with integrity and honor. We want to share with you our wealth and invite you to share with us. The perception is that a healthy and striving Africa would not disperse its resources as freely and cheaply, which is logical. Of course, it would instead sell its resources at world market prices, which in turn would destabilize and weaken Western economies, established on the post-colonial free meal system. Last year, the IMF reports that 6 out of 10 of the world's fastest growing economies are in Africa, measured by their GDP growth. The French Treasury, for example, is receiving about $500 billion year in, year out. Foreign exchange reserves from African countries based on colonial debt they forced them to pay. Former French President Jacques Chirac stated in an interview recently that we have to be honest and acknowledge that a big part of the money in our banks comes precisely from the exploitation of the African continent. In 2008, he stated that without Africa, France will slide down in the rank of a third world power. This is what happens in the human world, the world we have created. Have you ever wondered how things work in nature? One would assume that in evolution the fittest survives. However, in nature, any species that is overhunting, overexploiting the resources they depend on as nourishment, natural selection would sooner or later take the predator out because it offsets the balance.
And we are the future of tomorrow.
For our dreams,
I'm conscious.
And I'm here to make a difference.
for the future of this beautiful land, I'm fighting.
And I'm representing an idea.
If I can do it,
You can also do it.
you can do it.
Let's do it.
Ngashambitha kasimba because silibana ve Africa. Africa.
So yes, indeed. This is the new Africa we have to work for. And I'm speaking She here. Oh yes, yeah. They were sitting down, listening to what she was saying. And it's as if they haven't heard it before. Or they didn't even know it. This is a TED Talk. It's just repeating the obvious. What is wrong with a continent so much so that it owns everything but yet owns nothing? Incredible. And she started off, 5,000 of my currency is 1 of yours. And I tend to have the natural reserves of gold. Queen Elizabeth just showed a whole stack of gold in a room. And she was excited and proud enough to show off that she has all this gold. Ours is not in a room, you know. It's still on the ground. As raw and as natural as it gets. So if anybody has something to hold as a gold reserve or currency reserve, it should be us. And not them. But there again, you see, I am beginning to stop blaming the white man to some extent. And then blame my new white man. That is my current African leaders. You know, the direction has been after all the Pan-Africanists that started the whole fight, the Gaviites and then Chromites, the Nyeneres, the Kaundas, took them all out. They moved to create a new kind of breed of leadership, and that was the ones that have kept on to today, you know, from the military coups all over the place. So we have these current leaders that care less about the fight that they are supposed to fight, which is African unity and African liberation. Apart from this continental unity, there's nothing else to fight for. Everybody has had theirs. The Americans were so mad enough over taxes, they formulated a continent and a united America as we have it. Europeans too, same way, got the European Union going. Why can't you do it, Africa? It's because the current leaders do not care. And why don't they care? Because they're getting a piece of the pie. And they are keeping it for their co-hosts and their family and their cronies. So they do not care. They could care less about Africa uniting or not uniting. Otherwise, how else could you explain this? That they sleep well. I don't understand. In Ghana, they are doing this fix the country. But the fundamental cause of all this problem is because people sitting at the helms of affairs are not supposed to be there. So what are we talking about fix the country? You cannot fix your country. If you fix your country and the rest of the continent is not fixed, guess what? Agra is cost theta, 0 cost 90. It means nothing. So that's why I'm saying all these satellite groups, Rokono just passed. What's his name? This Dr. Rokono Rashid just passed away. And that should be an awakening for all these satellite Pan-African groups all over. I heard Dr. Joshua saying it on the Tata show. And I think it's very laudable. There's all these pieces. The PLOs, all these people are fighting African fight. These are the real Pan-Africanists merging up. They've been around. But now, we cannot find one particular leader to do anything. That's all good. That's where we remain less targeted. But that said, we need to have a unifying front and a force. What Rokono, Dr. Rashid left behind, this amount of data and information that he left, it's a whole museum. That people must begin to study it and know our history firsthand. So they'll know there's a fight to fight. That's why ACUP is doing what it is doing. So in as much as it's a young organization, it is so far the only organization that is consistently talking about all of Africa getting together to get one unifying power base. And if you don't get that, everything else is a sham. So do the ACUP fight. That's what we're telling you. These are from across the continent. Yeah, the last video you just watched, that's across the continent. The youth are yelling and yearning for this kind of change. Because otherwise, what we have right now is not working. So do the ACUP fight. Join the ACUP. Let's all put together all these great minds out there, come under one umbrella and fight the real fight of African independence, the Pan-African fight. That we have stopped doing that fight because since 1963 that we attempted to do it and the infiltration messed it up, we've left the ball and missed the ball, and these current leaders do not care. They don't even talk about it. I have my president in Ghana talking about Ghana beyond aid, and I don't even know how he thinks that's going to work. Is it just a talking show? How are you going to go beyond aid when you don't have control over any of your resources that you send out there to sell? So you see my point? We have to make sure we are fighting the real fight. We cannot sit in the dark, lose our keys in the dark, and look up there in the light and think we can go find our key in the light. No, the key got lost in the dark. Let's find it right here. In fact, let's bring light in here and look for our keys and find it. And once we find that key, we are unstoppable. So I'm just going to leave this here right now, and I'll come back again. Join the ACUP, the African Continental Unity Party. This is the only party, and the way our ideology is formatted and formed, it doesn't matter where we join or who we join with. As long as you meet the ideology, we are with you, true and true. Before we even sit down to talk, we are with you. So let's all put together. If you really mean well about African independence, you cannot be mad at the ACUP agenda. If anything, you have to add to it and make it better. But the fundamental remains true to it. African independence is what we have to be fighting. Otherwise, all this individualistic, nationalistic fight is not going anywhere. Please. Our leaders have failed. They do not care. But the youth needs to take things into their own hands. This time not at the barrel of a gun, but with intellect, with mindset, and also learning our history well enough so that the mystery will be dissipated or erased, and then we can go about our black magic. Thank you guys. Let's get this done once and for all. There's only one Africa we got. It's not going to change until we change it. Thank you.